Oakley dokley.
Well, thank you, Joe Riddle. Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Hideaway Pizza. East 96th Street in Owasso is where we are. If you want to jump in and be a part of things tonight, you're welcome to come by and eat with us, as we've got a big menu for you this evening, as they always do here at Hideaway Pizza. And, of course, we will take your emails for Coach Blankenship, news at InsideOwasso.com. You're also watching it on the Owasso Sports Network this evening. And, Coach, I tell you, I can't believe that tomorrow night is senior night. I mean, we wait all summer, it crawls by, and then you blink and it's almost over.
I'm glad you said that, Grant, because that's exactly the way it feels to me. We got through homecoming, and Zach Duffield, our AD, he goes, okay, you got everything ready for senior night? And I'm like, well, when is it? And he's like, oh, that's this week. I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Last regular season home game has just come up on us. And it's going to be a fun deal. We're going to get to celebrate these guys a little bit, but we understand that we're playing to give ourselves an opportunity to earn a home field playoff game. But man, we've still got 3 games left to have to battle out and to do that. But this is going to be a big one.
We do. Certainly need everybody there tomorrow night. Tickets are on sale now for the last home game of the regular season, and of course we've got ours, had ours from the beginning, and we've got that one ticket left, and then we've got that one playoff ticket because we're hoping to be able to use that for a home opener in the playoffs. We'll definitely talk about that more as we go throughout the course of the show. But last week, great homecoming win. It was a game we got down a little bit behind Southmore, and it probably raised your blood pressure a little, I'm sure, in those first 2 quarters.
Well, that's probably a fair way to state it. We certainly didn't play to our abilities early. We didn't do too bad on defense. We were playing. We were keeping them in check. But offensively, we really sputtered around. I know the players are tired of me talking about, getting your mind off of homecoming and getting it on to your opponent. And, we kind of let it distract us. We lost our focus, and it took us a while to get going. And, the second half was a lot of fun. Once we flipped the switch, and the energy and the excitement, and we're singing in the locker room when it's over, and I'm asking those guys, which piece of this game did you like the most and which did you not? Because I'd like to just remind ourselves that this is what can happen if you come out and you're just not energized, you're not focused. But then the way that fourth quarter finished, our guys were having fun. They were playing physical. They were dominating the game. And that's when it gets fun, is when you're just bringing every piece of your energy and excitement to it. And so, hopefully the crowd will stick around and do the same thing with us.
For those of you that weren't with us Friday night, of course, Owasso beat Southmore 27-13. It was a homecoming game that really has kind of put an exclamation point on the district season. I mean, of course, the week before you had Norman North. The week before that, Edmond North. You're really starting to solidify your place in line for a playoff berth. And I know, you got to go 1-0, as you're so fond of saying. But, being able to do that and come from behind to beat Southmore, that it was a team that you were probably supposed to beat on paper, but, the way you guys finished was certainly admirable.
Well, and that's the whole deal is, as I talk to our guys, and I think that people that follow football understand that's why they make you play the game. If you're just going to deal with the records and go down the list on paper, we could save ourselves a whole lot of blood pressure medicine and heartburn. And so, but to me, that's the joy of getting to do this. I mean, you find out every day if you're going to bring your A game, and if you do, is it going to be good enough, to withstand the team that we're playing. We're going to have a similar situation this week. We're playing Mustang. Mustang had beaten Southmore. Mustang is I think 3-4 on the season. But they've got a good win over Westmore. They've got a win over Southmore, and they've got a win over Edmond North. And so these are all teams we're familiar with. And so you bring a group in here that last year really did a great job of moving the ball on us and throwing it up and down the field. And we're gonna have to be on our toes and really bring our A game to defend the senior night festivities.
Our McDonald's player of the game was Isaiah Jacobs. He got that for a second time this season, and he was a player that really broke loose and did a lot of things well on Friday night. Who else besides Isaiah really stood out to you?
Well, I love Kamen Sievers and his pick six that he got. That's his second. He almost had a pick six earlier in the season. He had gotten that interception, I believe that was against Edmond North, right, and had gotten down really inside the 10 before his own player tripped him. Mm-hmm. And so I love the fact that Kamen's playing at a very high level right now, and his energy is contagious, and so we're getting a lot of work from him on defense. I think your choice of Isaiah on offense is really it's borne out in the fact that how he sparks us. When he runs with that passion and energy and physicality, all of a sudden it gets contagious.
One of the honorable mentions that we had was Jaden Thomason. And
yeah,
he was,
absolutely.
He was a guy that Christian Favalora talked to on camera after the ball game, and really stood out and did things well defensively for you guys.
Well, Jaden has just gotten better and better. He's had to be that really the defensive quarterback. I mean, when you play middle linebacker for us, the way Coach Klink does it, you really rely on that linebacker getting everybody else lined up, making the calls, getting us set. And Jaden has really come into his own and is playing at a much higher level now than at the beginning of the season.
If you haven't been able to log on to InsideOwasso.com and watch some of these videos with these kids that Christian's been doing after the ball games, I think you would agree with me that you really have some team leaders. I mean, you have some well-spoken kids that can hold their own in an interview, hold their own on the football field. I mean, and I know, while we'd like to give you and your coaches a lot of credit for that, you've got some pretty well-raised kids, too.
There's no question. That's the great thing about Owasso and this community is the kind of young men that we get to coach. And I do believe this, Grant, that the more folks in the community would get to know our players, and one way to do that is online and see those interviews. The more you get to know our players, the more passionate you are going to be about rooting for them, because these really are likable young men. They're respectful. They've been raised well. They're still teenagers, right? And they're still teenage boys, and they can be goofy at times. But let me tell you, I am very proud to be their coach. And if I was their parent, grandparent, I'd probably not have very many buttons left on my shirt for how proud I would have been in popping all those buttons off.
Understood. Let's talk about some of your seniors that you're going to be saying goodbye to, at least from the regular home finale type standpoint tomorrow night.
Well, those guys, we've got 30 seniors that are going to be suiting up for their last regular season game. Some of them are well known, and some of them aren't. But some of the guys that you don't know may have just as important a role as maybe the Kewan Hayes that are the starting linebackers, the Will Keeney, the starting quarterback. People know about those guys. They may not know about Jason Carey, who is a senior corner that hadn't played a whole lot, but he's been a little bit injured. Jacob Wright was rotating in some at one of the safety spots. He got injured. There's just guys throughout the program that when you just stop and think, if I had a granddaughter, would I be okay with this guy, dating her? How about Alex Haight, our kicker, punter? Alex is just a citizen extraordinaire, and I think he's an example of what most of our seniors are like.
When you take a look at where you were 2 years ago, when you came in, had that state championship year, you take a look at the progress that these seniors who were sophomores at that point have made since then. Kind of talk about what it was like to come in with these guys and how far they've come since you first took over.
Well, this group is a little different in that a lot of these boys were the sophomores when I first got hired. Mm-hmm. They were flipping it over. They were juniors to be, but they were still in the current sophomore class. And, while the attention, and duly so, went to the Wayne Joneses and the Josh Proctors and the guys that really jumped out at you athletically, there were a lot of these guys, the Jaden Thomason that you mentioned, the Aiden Odell, Tyler Dillingham. I mean, these guys just kind of were sitting back and biding their time a little bit and watching to see what it was going to be like to get to play and represent the Owasso Rams. And what I love about this class is that they now have a couple of seasons in our version of the program and in our culture, and this has really become their team. Last year we were still in kind of a feeling out stage, but this is really the first class that's been here entirely from season to season, and now I think their fingerprints the seniors' fingerprints are all over this team.
It's got to make you proud to have been able to guide some of that progress.
Well, it's one of the things you love about getting to coach, and I do love watching that and developing that and seeing the leadership come out. There's a story behind every one of these youngsters, and that's the part that still drives me. I still love getting to look at a young man that comes in his sophomore year and try to dream about, where will he go, what will he be. I loved getting the senior info sheets in. We gathered those up. They're going to be announced as they come in, and looking at what their plans for after graduation are. It's amazing. One wants to be a pediatrician. This one wants to be an engineer. This one wants to go to TCC, but he still wants to pursue a 4-year degree after that. This one's going to be in the Air Force. This one's going to, and it's just all of them have these unique stories, and you're just so proud to see them want to grow up and hopefully become the men that we want them to be. The father that's not going to leave their kid, and the husband that's not going to leave his wife behind, and the man in the community that's going to stand up and speak up and, be an incredible leader.
If you're just joining us, we're on KYFM tonight as the Ram Showcase with Coach Bill Blankenship is live from Hideaway Pizza in Owasso Ram football tomorrow night for senior night, final regular season home game against Mustang. We hope you can all be there and be in attendance. As far as, you were talking about some of these guys' future plans. College coaches, are we getting some attention from the recruiting staff?
We are actually. Some of the guys that stand out, certainly Will Keeney got an early offer, and he's committed already to North Texas, and I think that's a great fit for him and for them. Kewan Hay had gotten several offers, and he's been injured since game one, and so he hasn't done a lot to build on that. But I think you're going to see Kewan playing at the next level and do very well. And then you've got guys that have come on the scenes a little later. Cayman Sievers has had an outstanding senior season, and I think has given himself a chance to play. And we'll kind of see how that recruiting plays out. Certainly, you've got several others hoping for those opportunities, and there's still a lot of football to be played, so you still may see some of those guys.
I was about to say, when it comes to those opportunities, you've got 2 more games in the regular season and playoff game. There's still some time for some kids who aren't on the radar to really show up, show out, and get some attention.
Absolutely, and that's what I remind them. The longer you go in the playoffs, the more the college guys could come see you in person. Mm-hmm. Now, they can always see the film,
sure,
but I assure you, when you're a college coach, you're getting hundreds of videos a day. You can watch film. You can certainly tell players. But it's when you see them in person that you really feel like you get a handle on who this guy is.
All right, hang with us. We're going to take our first break of the show this evening. If you want to drop by, got a few more minutes with us here at Hideaway Pizza, East 96th Street in Owasso, next to Whataburger and Sam's Club. And we'd love to see you here. Stay with us. We'll have more with Coach Bill Blankenship straight ahead. This is Owasso Ram football on KYFM. Face with Coach Bill Blankenship. Grant Merrill along with you tonight. We welcome our listeners on 100.1 KYFM and our viewers on the OwassoSportsNetwork.com and the Owasso Rams app, which you can download from the App Store, and you can watch all of our games live. You do need to try to be there tomorrow night in person because we do need a big home crowd.
Oh, man, please.
You know, Mustang, like we said, they haven't had the best year on paper, but they are a team that could jump up and surprise somebody.
Well, you know, they're 3-4. We're 4-3. You know, it's not like we've got a huge difference in that opportunity with our schedule. But the deal is we have the home field, and we need that to matter. You know, our folks have done a great job. Our band, our students, our fans. And, you know, we want that energy and that help. And so we need the folks just to get out and get loud. And just like my players, we talked about in the fourth quarter when they got passionate and they were focused, it was more fun. I will just promise you'll have more fun at the game if you're fired up and you're loud and you're, you know, rooting everybody on. Just be a participant, not just a spectator.
Here's how the schedule for Mustang is shaken out this year. Week 1, lost 19-14 to UConn. Week 2, lost 29-14 to Edmond Santa Fe. Had a 21-14 win over Westmore in Week 3. Norman North, they lost 17-6. Lost to Union 44-3 on the 28th. Then 2 weeks ago, won against Southmore 28-16. Edmond North, they win 38-14. So, you know, you're looking at a team that's on a 2-game winning streak here. What else besides that jumps out to you here?
Well, I think that they haven't, other than the Union game, they haven't given up a whole lot of points. And then also, they had about the same score. The scoring margin was not much different with their game against Southmore than ours. Edmond North scored a couple of times, but again, the difference wasn't that much. I think there's just a lot of similarities to what you see in the season so far with Mustang and us. Now, I would like to think that our early tough schedule may give us a little advantage, but having played at a higher level, but you know, you just don't ever know. I mean, you play who comes your way, and whether it's Mustang or us, you know, you've got to just say, okay, that's what we've been given, and now let's just put the ball down and figure out who's going to be the best tonight.
As far as individuals on that Mustang team, who brings what to the table?
Well, generally, what you can look at is this. The defense had, I think, 9 starters back from last year. So the bulk of those guys are returning players from a year ago. So the secondary, the corners, one of the safeties, those guys are solid players. They've been back. I think one of the 2 linebackers returns, if I remember right, and the front guys. Again, 9 of the starters. Offensively, though, they had been very productive a year ago, and they replaced a whole lot of that offensive unit. So I think they've got a couple of linemen back, but new quarterback, new receivers, new running back. And so that's been a little bit of a growing, a growth curve for them, much like it has been for us. Now, the good thing for us is starting with Will Keeney, you know, it was nice to have a quarterback because you could kind of build around him, and we've been able to do that.
You know, one of the things that's different about this week, and it seems like we have had an extenuating circumstance every week for the past 3. You know, 2 weeks ago we're on the road. Last week it's homecoming. This week, fall break. We're playing on a Thursday, another shortened week, and you're out of school tomorrow.
Yeah, and those things are hard to manage sometimes. You know, fortunately, we've figured out over the years some things to help it. We don't let our guys just sleep all day. We're going to get up and thanks to this community, we're going to feed them a good breakfast at about 9:30, and they still get to sleep in, but we'll come in at 9:30. We'll come up, and in the NFL now they call them OTAs. We're going to have some organized team activity. You know, I used to just call them walkthrough and film watching, film study. But we're going to do a little of that in the morning.
I was hoping you would come over after the team breakfast and bring it to go
well,
with
I
you.
could do that, when we come over and do our taping.
Interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, you don't have to do that. We're definitely, we may stop by and take some pictures of the morning for sure, because, that's one of the things. I know one of the things that you're going to miss, and I have to brag on her a little bit, but with Will Keeney graduating, Dusty Keeney will graduate as well.
Oh,
what
man.
a job she has done along with the other moms in the Owasso Football Booster Club.
We've got a great group of moms, and in fact, I left them meeting up in the Ram Room tonight. They were still together, all planning some other activities, but make no mistake of it, Dusty Keeney is the MVP. I mean, this place is going to forever be changed because of her leadership and just her tireless work ethic of trying to serve our kids. And so I'm very appreciative to Dusty.
Well, for Dusty and for all the other moms, I mean, I see Sherry Van Landingham and some of these other ladies that are always, it seems like they're always there in the pictures, when these kids are doing extracurricular activities and we're having, food prepared for them and just about anything that they need. These moms have really come together to make it.
They have, and that's what I think so many people miss out on, how much fun it is when you come together and work together. Some of these moms probably have been together since Little League.
Right.
And you start seeing these guys work their way into their senior year, and you just want to be a part of it. And, we've been fortunate. Paul Kropp is, Carson's father, and Carson's at Oklahoma State. Well, Paul continues to serve on our board as the president of the Booster Club this year.
Right.
And that's a rare thing to see, a man who's willing to still give of his time and still lead, even though his son's not directly benefiting from that. But that's the kind of community we have. That's the kind of support we get.
Well, we do know that we will have a lot of support tomorrow night at a home game. When you talk about some of the changes with it being senior night, being that final home game, what do you tell your kids to make this one count?
Well, the thing that we always kind of bring back to them is, we'll do it again tomorrow morning, and when we have before we go out, we're just going to have these guys stand up. How do you want to honor these young men? How do you want to honor your teammate who is in his last regular season game? Because each of you, some of you sophomores think that'll never happen. You're just sure you're going to be a youngster forever, and you can't imagine that you'll be a senior, and you're going to blink 2 or 3 times, and it's going to be your time.
Yeah.
And so how do you want your teammates playing when you're a senior? And let's send these guys out with senior night the way they deserve to be sent. And so hopefully we'll come out with passion and excitement and enthusiasm and really honor their commitment to us.
They'll blink and be a senior, then they'll blink and be 37 with an 11-year-old daughter.
Well, I could get I can get you to 61 pretty quick.
Yes, yes, I know you as well. So, well, we take a look at tomorrow night against Mustang. We take a look at the playoff scenarios that you could see. Kind of explain how these games count and what they mean toward the postseason.
Well, the big thing for us is that you got to earn your way into the playoffs. There are 8-team districts, and 4 out of each district are going to make the playoffs. And then it's just a real simple math. If you're a number 1 seed, you're going to play the number 4 in the other side, and the 2s are going to play 3s. And so the fact that we lost to Union early in the district race essentially puts us, I like to say, 2 games down, because if they lose 1 game, they have the tiebreaker on us because of having won that game. So we're literally playing to get ourselves in the playoffs. I believe, I haven't done the math on this, Grant, but I believe that a win tomorrow night would get us in the playoffs. It would clinch us somewhere in the top 4. And then if we could continue to win out, we would earn that 2nd seed. Well, what's the advantage of that? Well, the 2nd seed gets a home field. The home field are going to be the number 1 and the number 2 seeds. And so that's huge if you can get that, play at home, and then that gives you a little heads up on the first round, and you go from there.
Take a look at some of the other teams that might end up in that top 4. Who are the biggest threats right now?
Well, in our side of the thing, you've got the best records are from our last two opponents, Moore and Putnam North, and they're going to play each other this week. So one of them will have the edge on the other going into those last 2 weeks. So you've got those two guys, and then the next tier behind them is Mustang. And so from our side, we've got to win over Mustang to keep ourselves in that top 4 category,
right?
And not throw a wrench in it by getting into some kind of a tiebreaker. On the other side of the state, you've got Broken Arrow, who's still undefeated on their side, probably looking as a 1 seed. Jinx is going to wind up playing Santa Fe to kind of figure out 2 and 3. And then now that 4th spot is the one that's a little up for grabs. Is it going to be Westmore? Is it going to be UConn? So I don't know. It's still 3 weeks to play. It's all going to get sorted out.
Tell you what starts to set up and look like a really good game is that final game between Owasso and Putnam City North.
No question. I mean, it could be. Hopefully, we get to a point and where we've got everything on the line.
If we're all still rolling, of course, Putnam City North right now is 6-1.
Yep.
Coming into tomorrow night, and then you've got a Moore team that's the exact same as we are, 4-3 overall, 3-1 in conference play. So, these next 2 games could create a lot of parity for this district.
Well, that's where I think that word is the one that describes our district right now. I mean, a lot of parity, a lot of competition. And that's why you can't get sidetracked. I can't. The fans can. I mean, you guys can really enjoy that. But we've got to focus on getting this one. You get this one, it gets us in the hunt. And now we get in the hunt. Now let's fight for that home field the next week and the next week.
Well, we'll leave it to the guys like Rob Williams who keep the stats, who
exactly
get the slide rule out and determine exactly how if we score this many points, this is where we'd be. I don't know how to do all that, but there's a lot of people who are a lot smarter than I am that do. So we'll look forward to the next few weeks because either way, it ought to be a lot of fun.
There's no question. That's one of the things we love about high school football is getting towards the playoff, and we're in that stretch run now that, man, it's like we're in the playoffs because any time that we lose at this point, it's going to affect everything that we have. So we're gonna treat every game now like it's playoff time.
Nothing quite like it, I'm sure. I mean, you've coached so many of these final stretches, and there's not much excitement in the high school football world that beats these next few weeks.
No question about it.
Well, Coach, we will see you tomorrow night. Obviously,
Absolutely.
We've got a 7:30 kickoff. 6:45 will be the pregame show here on KYFM, and of course, you can watch the game at OwassoSportsNetwork.com or on InsideOwasso.com. If you either way, we'll have the game for you somewhere. And any final keys to victory you want to put out there?
Well, let me say this too, in trying to honor our seniors, try to get to the stadium early because at 7 o'clock is when they'll start the pregame festivities and be introducing those seniors, and I'd love for them to know how they are appreciated, and so please do that. I think the key to victory for us is really we got to get out of the blocks. I mean, we've stumbled around last week and had to play from behind. And when we get out and start fast, usually we play really well, and that's what we need to get back to doing. We'd had 2 good weeks of that, and we kind of took a step back. So I'm going to really challenge our guys. We got to come out fast and furious. Let's turn the heat up really quickly on Mustang and see how they'll respond to it. And hopefully we can get in the end zone a couple of times that first quarter and get some big stops.
All right. Good luck, Coach. We'll see you tomorrow night.
I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
That's Bill Blankenship. I'm Grant Merrill. Thank you so much for making us part of your evening here on KYFM as the Rams Showcase broadcast live from Hideaway Pizza. We're about to go eat our pizza. We've got a whole menu ahead of us, and we would encourage you to do the same thing this week. Drop by Hideaway and be sure and thank them while you're here for being a great host for Owasso Ram football. Again, tomorrow night, 6:45 the pregame, 7:30 the kickoff. It'll be Owasso and Mustang right here on KYFM.